How's it going? Just going to be going through a few pairs for the midweek, like sort of scope out thing. So I'm just going to go through my forecasts for gold, pound card, dollar Swiss, and euro dollar. I tend to only focus on about 4 pairs like per day. So obviously you're just catching me in my like routine on like a standard Wednesday night, where I'll basically have about 3 or 4 pairs where I'll be closely watching them and looking for positions, as opposed to looking at this entire like watch list that'll be difficult to manage. So like there's some pairs that I've got down here that are not really ready in my terms yet. I'm not ready to get involved with any of these trades. I want involved in these through the week. I keep a close eye on Bitcoin's price lately since like start of January. Obviously leverage trading that through like Bybit. And then so I'm just gonna go through these 4 pairs. So I'll start off with gold. I'm just gonna start off on the 4 hour, and then I'll break it down to the 1 hour and onto the smaller time frames. Often use the daily, but we're just before that daily close, so I'm not gonna show that. So yeah, this is what I'm looking at for gold. You can see we've got this big impulsive leg up here, and this is looking like sort of like a big bull flag, to maybe even push even higher later on for gold in this year. It looks like we're in like a massive bull trend. If you look on the daily as well, it's got that impulse correction, impulse. So we might get a little push higher, or we might start forming like a big correction and move down. That's the daily time frame. So that'll take quite a while to do that. But yeah, in terms of 4 hours, I'm just gonna start drawing in. So if we look at this bull flag, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So we could be expecting the 5 on here, the 5th touch on here. So 1, 2, 3, or we could get a little bit of corrective price action all the way from here to then pop off up there, or we could just completely trickle out. So there's loads of different possibilities and probabilities what can actually happen, but let's have a look at like how I'd actually be getting involved with them. So this is how I decide whether or not I'm actually gonna capitalize on any of those opportunities. So this is what I've got drawn in at the minute, and I'll show you my thought process. So from this touch of the bull flag, we've impulsed down. This is sort of like a bit of corrective price action. Like it's a ranging market there. There's some like support and resistance here. Pretty much that's what it is, and it's just consolidating between there. And now we're starting to break out of that ranging market. So that tells me that if we break impulsively and we have a correction, that confirms the move down here. But if we break out correctively, it could be a signal that we're going higher, that actually does look like what's happening here. This looks like very corrective. We're still in a ranging market, but we're ranging this way now, as opposed to this way. So this could potentially push higher, form like a bigger structure like this, and this would be like a 1, 2, 3. This would be a bigger bear flag to then play down and whatever after. But yeah, so if we're going to the downside with like a bit of corrective nature and sort of continuing this ranging market, I'd sort of be looking like this, and I'd draw in a bit of price there and then drop. Be looking for something like that. So that could be a selling position coming up on gold soon. Obviously, this all depends on having like corrective price nature there. This would form like a scoop double top sort of thing. Then you drop out. So that's one possibility. Obviously, you don't actually know what happens until you see it, so you have to set like alerts and actually just make yourself like aware of like where the high value areas are for each certain like scenario. So this is like another scenario that I'd look at. Let me just grab that. Looking like this. Oh, apologies. I don't normally use trading view on Safari. Normally in Google Chrome, so it might be that. Sick. Yep, so basically this is another scenario that could happen, is that this could be the bottom of the pattern. This could break out, a little correction down. This then forms like a mini descending channel on a small time frame, and we could just break up from here. Or obviously that the other scenario breaking down. So yeah, I'd just be looking to put like a little rail line on here, and then I'd set an alert just for like a couple of pips above that rail line there, and then when it triggers, I'd be looking to see how the price action is. It's mainly dependent on how the price approaches these areas, as opposed to it actually being in those areas. Like, it's not really as relevant. But yeah, that's gold. In terms of pound CAD, so I'm just going to go into that now on the 4 hour, on the 1 hour again. I'm very bullish on the pound pairs at the minute. I think that we're going to be in for a bit more upside towards these areas up here. That's where I'm looking at for the pound going forward. So yeah, I'll show you why. This is the 4 hour time frame. If we just have a look, we can sort of see this is all about pattern separation now. So this is a descending channel, which is a reversal to the upside. So a breakout. If you don't know the 90% rule, it definitely works. I've back tested it, and it actually it really does work. But basically, when we break out, so of a descending channel, when you break out, you're guaranteed to go to the start of the correction. I say guaranteed. Obviously, it's a massive game of probabilities, but 90% of the time, that is what happens. So yeah, we've got a descending channel there, right here. We broke out of that, and then we had a correction. So breakout, correction, impulse. So it goes. That's just like the nature of the market: impulse, correction, impulse. And now if we look at what we've started to form here, it looks like either sort of another descending channel, or what I'm gonna refer to it as, which is a bull flag, which looks like we're moving higher. So I've just extended my trend line, the back of that trend line out there, because basically when price touches 2 points on a trend line, it sort of confirms that is relevant. Basically, this trend line is now sort of like a relevant area in the market, sort of like a dynamic support and resistance. Now, I actually don't trade support and resistance in the sense that where it's like, I don't trade the support and resistance where it's like these up and down. But I do believe in, like, obviously I do trade sort of trend trading, swing trading, and I do think that there is dynamic support and resistance, and that does sort of exist in the market. I found that through my own testing. But yeah, this is a 4 hour time frame. So what I'm ultimately looking at is this movement to the upside, like from here to here or here to here. Honestly, I'm not really bothered which one it is. But based on this hourly time, on the hourly time frame, based on this, we can see that it looks like it could be happening soon. It could happen soon. I'm gonna say it could because I'm not too sure if it will. But potentially we could be in for some impulsive bull moves on pound CAD. So yeah, this is what we're looking for, sort of drawing it in, and this is why I extend my trend lines out, because it sort of gives a guide sort of as to where you can get your entries and get them really precise. So this could be ready very, very shortly. Obviously, sorry, that's awful. Sort of like that, and that trend line would be extended out, and then you get an entry on the break of that. I don't know why my trading view is doing this. It's sort of sticking, so I can't draw properly. But yeah, so this is the sort of thing that I'll be looking at, and this is actually a likely scenario to happen. But I probably won't get involved, because if we go over to Forex Factory, it's like economical news for the markets. It rates it on high impact and like sort of the impact it has on the volatility of the markets. Now, I don't actually read into economic news. I did at one point, but I sort of haven't done for about a year now. I always check it because news creates volatility, not direction, and that's something that I learned in Falcon Trading Guidance. Yeah, pretty much I just don't enter trades through high impact news. So this is obviously pound CAD, and if we take a look at what's inbound at midnight, that is the CAD news. So by the time that this is released, you'll probably see that the volatility thing. I reckon this is a possible scenario. So impulse, correction, impulse. However, the CAD news obviously could create volatility, which means that this could impulse back into the pattern. We could get a correction, obviously not that far. Impulse back into the pattern, and then this trend line back here, I would sort of continue to take relevance to this. So I'd extend that out, and I'd be looking for price to maybe impulse back into the pattern and go down like this, and come up later on. So yeah, I'd sort of be looking at that. It's either gonna tonight we're either gonna make a movement this way and sort of like confirm that, or we're gonna make a movement this way and maybe confirm more down. But it might go up from this area. It could go up from this area. Honestly, it just depends on the price action that we're given from gbpcad. So I'm gonna be keeping a real close eye on that one. Right guys, so dollar Swiss, sort of just going to take a look at this because this is a really interesting pair. I actually thought that I missed out on a position on this today. Well, technically, according to my plan, I actually did miss out on a position on this today, but nevertheless, it wouldn't have really gone my way anyway. So, well, it would. I'd just not be running a great deal of profit right now. So there's obviously another opportunity for me to get in. So I'm going to make sure that I capitalise on it. Yeah, pretty much. So I'm going to break this down now. So we'll start off on the 4 hourly, as we did with the others. We can see overall, we're in this bigger structure, so like a bigger descending channel. We've got 1, 2, and I'm looking for that 3. So I'm looking for a third touchdown here before this bigger movement up. But come on, let's just focus on what's for now. So basically, I'm looking at this to sort of exactly replicate. Yeah, just like this. Pretty much like that. And this is like the level of detail that you should really go to with it. And you're sort of building like a story right now. So let me just draw this in, and I'm gonna show you what this is. So you should take some value away from what I'm about to do now, because this is honestly, this just helps you trading proper next level. Alright. It's not working for me today. Right. Essentially, here's a scenario that I'm looking for. Now, this is on the 4 hour time frame, so I'm gonna basically go on the lower time frame and show you exactly what I mean. But as we can see, we've got this descending channel forming within this descending channel. Now that increases the probability of this overall, of the overall pattern playing out in general. So this is a really high quality. This is gonna feed a lot of traders over the next, probably for 2020. To be honest, there's gonna be some big players on here. So this is what I'm looking at. So we've got the second touch of this descending, and we've broken down, and now we've sort of pushed back up. Now, I believe this could be to do with this news here. Like, look, we've had some news here on the dollar, so it could be to do with that. But nevertheless, we've got an opportunity to get back involved here. So if we get rid of this straight away, what am I looking at? I'm looking at an ascending channel on the smaller time frame forming. So it's really difficult to tell, but sort of something like this. If we break it down into the 30-minute charts, that should make a bit more sense. Yep, there we go. So really, I'm actually looking for some downside. If you double that in with this double top, this is where we start to build a real case of like evidence, and we can sort of predict what's going to happen. So we've got an impulse, a correction, impulse. That will then form an ascending channel, which is a reversal pattern to the downside. This then forms a bigger expanding pattern, and yeah, we could have a breakout early, or this could break down and then start a new downtrend. But yeah, this is definitely what I'm looking at. I'm looking at for more downside in the coming days. Longer term, could be getting them bigger longs. But yeah, for a while we're going to be on shorts. So I'm looking for shorts pretty much, and that's pretty much the only possibility that if it did materialize, I would take. Now the only second option that I actually would take is if, say if I actually did miss this trade here, I want active or for whatever reason, the first correction that will form always has the highest probability of playing out. So I'll be looking at something like this either on the break of this bear flag here, so impulse correction, entry on the break, or actually what I could do is set an entry, try and predict the top. So I put like a little ray line on here, just a little tip for you that works there, and that would sort of call the top of the correction. So it'd be break through that support. I don't really trade support, but this is sort of actually how the market does work. Break through the support, come back up, and then the entrance will be somewhere around here for that movement back into the pattern. So if you're awake late in the morning, see if you can catch that, see if that does materialize. Don't hold me accountable if it don't materialize there. Yeah, and then finally I'm just gonna go over euro dollar now. Start off on the 4 hour. This is actually one of my favorite positions. Like, I really want to catch it from the bottom when it does eventually get that bigger movement later in the later stages of the year, or potentially we could start that movement today. So that's why I'm quite excited about this one. So if you look on the 4 hour, you can basically see there's like a massive descending channel. So in fact, it's easier to see on the daily. We can see we've been in this descending channel. So realistically, we know that there's a 90% chance that it's going to return to here once the pattern commits and we impulse out of it. So that's a 90% probability that we're going to go up to there. So hence why I'm wanting to be involved here and literally follow it all the way up. That obviously would be a nice return. So on the 4 hour, let's look at like how is the pattern going to play out. That's pretty much what you're predicting. So on a higher time frame, you figure out what pattern you're within or you're playing, and then you look for patterns within that pattern, sort of build a story, and through backtesting and just literally looking at price action every day, you understand what the candlesticks do, and you sort of form a judgment on whether or not it's bullish or bearish within the pattern, and then you can sort of predict how it's going to play out. Now, what I'm looking at right here on the 4 hour, I'll break down to the hour now. We've sort of got, we've definitely got a double bottom within the pattern. So now there's an override within a descending channel that essentially this could break from here and be the one that breaks. This could be the absolute turning point in the market. Now, looking at that, I'm not convinced. Maybe I'd expect price to maybe push down a little bit more and get people caught on the wrong side of the market before it does ultimately move to the upside. Now, let's have a look. There's two ways I'm going to see this play out. It's either we're going to get a bit of corrective price nature down here, and that's going to form a descending channel within this descending channel within the overall descending channel. So that's why you're stacking your confluences on that, and then what I'd do is I'd set a long position with around a 30 pip stop, maybe even less, targeting the top of here for 4.5%. It's got 90% probability on a smaller time frame to be playing out to here. Now, whether or not we break out of there correct and then commit to the higher time frames, this is where you can be banking sort of I would plus that's about 11%. Yeah, about 11% to the top of there. So that's really where the like you can sort of bank a lot trade in this style. That's why I like it. So yeah, that's one possibility, going to the upside from there, or we could correct like this all the way to the top and then just completely drop out to the bottom of here, where we'd probably form like a descending channel. I'm just using a trackpad as well, so it's not as clean as it used to be with the mouse, but it doesn't need to be. I'm alright with it a bit messy now. So yeah, this is sort of another thing that I'll be looking for. And then if this is the case, I would look to get involved with a short from the top of here if the price action were corrective and it looked good enough. And I probably end up getting taken out about here, so I'll probably get about 5.8% on that trade if it does push to the downside for this bigger move. on the art structure, because essentially this is the true form of a descending channel. A full descending completed channel is that this price would come down and get the third touch, so you get 1, 2, 3, and then it would commit to this 90% rule, which would be impulse out, correct, and then impulse out. I'm guessing most of you know that, but yeah, a key thing that I found recently, pretty much just through like my forecasting and just pretty much trading in general, is that just zoom out. Like the zooming out as it works for my patience, to be honest, because I'm always looking at the bigger picture, and you always know that there's going to be a sort of a better turning point in the market to get involved with. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching, guys. See you later.